Welcome, citizens of Douglas County. My name is Kelly Robinson. I'm serving in as proxy for Madam Dr. Ramona Jackson Jones to facilitate this meeting. We're going to go ahead and get started. This is the June 22nd, 2022 meeting of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. We're going to do a roll call to establish a quorum. We're going to go down the row and establish, make sure we have everybody that's here. District 1, Commissioner Henry Mitchell III, are you present, sir?
Present.
Commissioner Serena Carthen from the 3rd District, are you present, ma'am?
Present.
Commissioner Ann Jones Guider of the 4th District, are you present, ma'am?
Present.
Madam Dr. Ramona Jackson Jones, are you present remotely?
Present.
All right. We have a five-member quorum here, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Our very first order of business is going to be the invocation. And we've got our own director, Rick Martin, who's going to come forth and lead us into prayer. And right after that, God's going to need everybody to stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance thereafter. Thank you.
Good evening, Vice Chair Robinson, Board of Commissioners, Deputy County Administrator. May we bow our heads, please? Our Heavenly Father, Prince of Peace, we invite you to preside over this legislative meeting tonight. Even if different opinions are conveyed, please give us a unity of spirit. Help us to each listen politely as others share their points of view. Please direct our commissioners' thoughts, words, decisions, and actions toward the right path and stay on track. Please continue to protect our first responders and keep them safe so they can return to their families. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Director Martin. County Clerk, next order of business.
Yes, we have public comment, and we did have one citizen to sign in to register to speak. Ms. Sharon Bachtel.
Ms. Bechtel, please come forward. Please, since you understand the rules.
Yes, ma'am. Just as a reminder, you have 3 minutes to address the board. Once your 3 minutes are up, I'll remind you to wrap up your comments. And if you'll just restate your name and your topic. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Sharon Bachtel, and I would like to speak about Connect Douglas and Punkintown Park tonight. And thank you for allowing me to speak. In 2018, the Citizens Hall was filled with citizens to talk about fixed routes. The majority of the citizens spoke against it, saying fixed routes were the wrong fit for Douglas County and not needed. The commissioners did not listen. In 3 years, we have seen a complete waste of $6 million. You spend our tax dollars, grants or tax dollars too, to provide daily rides for less than 100 people. Thousands more of our tax dollars were wasted on collaborative firm to advertise and increase ridership to no avail. In 2018, Gary Watson reported that there were waiting lists for paratransit and the voucher program, and today we still have waiting lists for these programs. For 3 years, Districts 3 and 4 have had no transportation. Our seniors, handicapped, and poor have had to provide their own transportation. When I asked my commissioner about this, she suggested I call Uber or Lyft if I need a ride. I have seen how much Uber costs on a commissioner's expense report, and I know I cannot afford it. If I lived in Carroll County, I would have transportation. They provide dial-a-ride to the whole county. I think it is time for the commissioners to rethink fixed routes and choose other transportation opportunities. In the past 3 years, Connect Douglas has been a disappointment. I can only say I feel sorry for Director Roberts, and I am praying for him. He will need a miracle to fix this mess. I ask if you accept this CMAQ grant that you will use it for the whole county. I would also like to talk about Punkintown Park. Yesterday I heard the finance director say that $523,244 of the $1.2 million needed for the construction contract would come from the general fund. In April, you allotted all of the extra money. Many department heads were told they would not be getting the extra funds that they requested. How do we have funds for a park that most people did not want, but have no funds for the needs and wants of the departments who run our county? I thought you voted to save extra revenues for the salaries of county employees in 2 years. Didn't Commissioner Carthen say we shouldn't spend more than our revenues of the previous year? Isn't spending like this how you got into trouble in 2020 and had to furlough the county employees? The people in Pumpkintown Park did not want the entrance to the park in their neighborhood. The people in District 3 want Bill Art Park fixed. Why is my commissioner not asking for funds for Bill Art Park, the only active park in our district with the only playground? Where is the new playground that has been promised year after year? Does my commissioner not care about the health and safety of the little ones in our district? Why aren't you finding funds for handicapped playground equipment, which is scarce in Douglas County? Does my commissioner not care about the handicapped? If there are no extra funds for departments to run this county, if there are no funds for fixing Bill Art Park, then there are no funds for Pumpkintown Park. It's time to start doing what the citizens want. Please listen to us. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other public comment? All right. Lisa?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry. There's no other public comment.
All right. No problem. All right. Let's move on to our next agenda item. The meeting
Okay.
minutes.
The next agenda item is the approval of the minutes for commission meeting minutes of June 7th, work session meeting minutes of June 6th, and executive session minutes of June 6th.
Okay. Board of Commissioners, you've heard the meeting minutes. Hopefully you've had a chance to read them since yesterday's work session. Yesterday's work session. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes for June 7th, work session meeting minutes of June 6th, and executive session minutes of June 6th, 2022.
I'll second it. Any comments? All right. Board of Commissioners, prepare to cast your votes.
Lisa, affirmative.
Thank you.
We got them all. Computer stalled. We got it. Thank you. All right.
Motion carries 5-0.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Board of Commissioners. County Clerk, let's move on to the next agenda item.
The next agenda item is a public hearing. The public hearing and approval for a request from Douglas County Water and Sewer Authority for a certificate of compliance with the Metropolitan River Protection Act for improvements to the Dog River Reservoir Pump Station. Ms. Allison Duncan is here.
Ms. Duncan, come forth before we get started to the public hearing component for the public. I'll let you set the stage, please.
Good evening. Thank you, sir. This item is in regard to the Metropolitan River Protection Act, which applies to the Chattahoochee River, which, as you know, forms a large portion of our southern border in Douglas County. We don't have these hearings very often. The last one would have been in 2016, but the Metropolitan River Protection Act applies to the 2,000-foot corridor along the Chattahoochee River. Any land disturbance within that corridor is reviewed by the Atlanta Regional Commission. The project presented here is for a new pump station that will be constructed in conjunction with the work to raise the level of the dam for the Dog River Reservoir. The project sponsor is the Water and Sewer Authority, and we do have representatives from the Water and Sewer Authority that are available this evening to answer any questions that you may have about the technical details of the project. ARC has completed its review, and they have found that this project is consistent with the Chattahoochee River Corridor Plan. We will need to have a public hearing prior to taking a vote on the Certificate of Compliance with the Metropolitan River Protection Act. But staff is recommending that the Board of Commissioners approve the certificate of compliance for this project. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Board of Commissioners, before we get into the public hearing, any questions? Would you like to hear from Gil Shearhouse before we open the public comment? Yes. Executive Director Gil Shearhouse, can you please come forth? Give a little bit more background regarding the broader needs of the county, not in addition to this project.
Yes, thank you,
Give us
Vice
context.
Chair, Commissioner. Thank you for having me this evening, and thank you for considering this application. As you know, but mainly for the public, I guess, the reservoir expansion project is much needed in our community. We have operated the Dog River Reservoir for a number of years. It is our primary water supply. We are underway with an expansion program to raise that by 35 feet and triple its storage capacity from 1.9 billion gallons to 6.5 billion gallons. Part of the project includes, as Ms. Duncan described, includes getting permits, a number of permits from ARC, the Corps of Engineers. We're working through all of those, and this is one of the things that we have to do to affect the project.
Great. Thank you so much. Stick around. We may have questions afterwards. We want to go ahead and do the public hearing first, and then we'll come back to you, both of you, in a moment.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and open up this public hearing. Point of order, Lisa, how many minutes do we give both sides? 15 minutes each?
Public hearing, we usually give 5 minutes per person.
All right, 5 minutes per person, it shall be. All right, we'll do, those people in favor of the action being taken today, the public hearing is open to you. You have 5 minutes. At that time that you exceed that, our county clerk will notify you gently to wrap up your comments. The public hearing is now open. Anybody that is for the action to be taken? No one coming down? All right. 1, 2. All right. Since nobody's come down for those who are for this this motion in the public hearing, I now close that portion. I now open it up for those who are against. Same rules apply. 5 minutes per person. The floor is open. No one? All right. I take that no one is coming down the floor. We're going to now close the public hearing for those who are against. Now, to my fellow commissioners, any comments on this motion or this action to be taken?
I'd like to ask some questions.
Yes, absolutely. Madam Goddard, you now have the floor from the 4th District.
Thank you, Director Shearhouse. You said it was going to take on how many acres?
So I'll ask Brian to correct me if I'm wrong. We currently have a reservoir that impounds 1.9 billion gallons. It's about 256 acres of surface area. It will go to about 600 acres, Brian, 600 acres, give or take. So if you can do the math, we have to acquire a few hundred acres of additional land to impound and flood and raise the water surface level.
And a lot of this is going to be across the road at the preserve, and they're aware of this is going to reduce their land mass, I guess.
Yes, ma'am. We've actually been working with the preserve and all of the landowners for a number of years. There are 39 parcels that we have to acquire property, and we've been working with them all for a number of years. When preserve first came in, you might actually recall part of their zoning conditions were to work with us on the property required for the reservoir. So all that has been built into their plan and design for their project.
Okay, and do you know when this will be done?
So
Approximately.
Yes, ma'am. We're underway with a number of parts of the program. So the reservoir expansion actually includes 5 or 6 separate projects. The MERPA application pertains to 1 pump station. We actually have 2 pump stations, a roadway, an access road, and then the dam itself. All those projects are underway. Design of the dam is the longest lead time item. We still probably have another year or year and a half to finish design. There's a lot of geotechnical work that goes into that. The design and permitting of the intakes and some of the ancillary projects are almost completed, and we anticipate going out to bid in the next few months on both intakes. The access road, the Highway 166 roadway improvements will be in the next few months to a year as soon as we can get GDOT approval. So all the things will start happening in the next few months. The dam itself, about a year and a half before we go under construction, all in about 6 years before we're done with the project and can begin filling the expanded reservoir.
And it will back up to our 800 acres down at Dog River Library.
Yes, ma'am. One of the action items later on in your agenda will be actually the consummation of the transfer of property for the property that Douglas County has at your Dog River Park. I believe about 28 acres will be flooded as part of this project. So, good thing is you get additional water frontage and, additional access to
Maybe a
the
beachhead.
reservoir. And the reservoir does have public access, so we operate a recreational area where, the public can come and enjoy the amenities. And our hope is that over the years, we have additional amenities that we and the county can offer as part of the reservoir expansion
And
project.
just one last question, where does the Dog River water come from?
So Dog River itself, the impoundment of Dog River Reservoir sits at the bottom of the basin of Dog River, the drainage basin where all the water comes from right before it goes into the Chattahoochee River. Upstream of that is about 78 square miles of area that drains into that. So some of it starts up in Carroll County and the southern part of Villa Rica. The lake at Fairfield is part of the Dog River watershed. Basically, the western third of Douglas County above Highway 166 is the basin that goes into Dog River Reservoir.
Yeah. And we
So a
try to-
number of lakes and streams and springs that feed into it in that area.
Okay. Well, I know it's got a good reputation. I think Alan Jackson wrote a song about it, The River Called Dog.
It's a beautiful river. We appreciate the community support of healthy watershed protection measures so we can continue to have great water that we can offer to our community, the residents and businesses.
And this will increase our water pressure and stuff like that?
Pressure, not so much. We operate, adequate pressure throughout the system. What this project will do is provide for the water needs well into the future. We use a 50-year planning horizon, so the future growth of residences and businesses. But as I shared at your last meeting, also changed environmental regulations and changed climatic conditions. This goes to support all of those needs for our community.
Okay. Thank you very much, and I yield back.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, Lisa, repeat the question so we can call the action for the clarity for the board.
Yes, sir. This will be approval for a request from the Douglas County Water and Sewer Authority for a certificate of compliance with the Metropolitan River Protection Act for improvements to the Dog River Reservoir Pump Station.
All right, can I get a motion to approve?
So move.
May I have a second?
Second.
All right, with a motion and a second, any further discussion? All right, call the question, cast your vote, fellow commissioners.
Lisa, affirmative.
Madam Chair, did you say yes?
I did, I said affirmative,
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0.
Very good. All right, motion carries. Thank you, Board of Commissioners. Let's move on to our next item. Lisa, we'll keep this meeting moving.
Yes, sir. We have a new business item, authorization for the chairman to execute an employee contract with Ivy Wright as District 2 Commissioner Legislative Aide.
Very good. Who's going to bring it forth? Anyone?
I can bring that forth, Vice
Just
Chair.
speak to it. Yes, thank you.
I appreciate that. As you know, our legislative aides, they come in, they stay for a little while, and as they get more tenured in the organization, they want to kind of transition on to other things. This has happened before. It's happened here with Vice Chairman. We have transitioned your aide off into a different department, and that means we need to replace her. So after an interview process and a search, we've decided and settled on Mrs. Ivy Wright to fill that role. And this is a contract that is currently under legal review that will go through the end of the current fiscal year.
Thank you very much.
And Vice Chair, I'm sorry, I did want Mrs. Ivy to be here this evening, but unfortunately her scheduling wouldn't allow her to be here, so possibly depending upon the vote from the board, we can have her at the next meeting to be introduced.
Not a problem. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy. All right, Board of Commissioners, can I get a motion to approve this contract as so read?
motion to approve the authorization for chairman to execute an employee contract with Ivy Wright as District 2 Commissioner, Legislative Aid.
I'll second it. Any discussion? All right, Board of Commissioners, cast your votes.
Lisa, affirmative.
Thank you.
Lisa,
Thank you, Chairman.
okay, you got it. Thank you.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you for that. And again, it is acknowledged, we appreciate the work the aides do. They work with each commissioner the way they need to be done to get work done. I'm proud of the work that Wendy Cottle has done for District 2. We pretty much say, you give us 1 year, we'll give you a career. Like over in District 1, they move on. And so we appreciate that, and we look forward to meeting Ivy Wright here and continue moving District 2 forward. All right, let's go to the next item.
Yes, sir. Business item number 6.
Yes.
Authorization to award a contract to Integrated Construction and Ability for professional services in the amount of $1,213,618.76 for the development of Punkintown Nature Preserve to be funded through the general fund as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Oversight Committee, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review.
All right, who's going to bring this forth? Mr. Dukes or who? No one?
He's coming. Mr. Dukes is coming.
Oh, he's coming. Sorry. There he is.
Good evening.
Good evening. You have the floor.
Yes, sir, this is the recommendation of the Recreation Oversight Committee. I was asked to get plans developed for the construction of this park. I did that. I was asked to put them out for bid, which we did. We reviewed the bids and took the bids selection to the Recreation Oversight Committee, and the Recreation Oversight Committee voted unanimously to bring the project forward.
Very good. I'll just leave it at that. Fellow commissioners, do you guys have any comments for Mr. Dukes regarding this matter?
Yes, sir, I do.
Madam Guy from the 4th District, you have the floor.
Who is over the Oversight Committee? Who are the 2 commissioners over the Oversight Committee?
Yes, Commissioner Mitchell and Commissioner Carthen.
Okay. What I do not understand, and I heard Ms. Bachtel this morning, this afternoon, about the Punkintown Park. Whatever park the commissioner in that district wants, it's up to her and her constituents. However, I do not like the fact that the money for the Winston concession stand, that here's the original list that the people voted for, that the Citizens Committee voted for, and it has a Winston Ballpark concession stand of in the amount of $539,000. All these other concession stands were done right on time. Boom, 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 boom. But when we got to Winston, you and your staff said, "Oh, we can't do Winston because..."
Ma'am, that's incorrect.
Well,
I did not say we could not do Winston.
You
I
s-
do not set the priorities.
you said that you needed to revamp the whole park.
We've got several old parks that need to be revamped, and it would be a disservice to put a new concession stand in Winston Park when the rest of the facilities in that park are 50 years old.
Mr. Dukes, that concession stand has been there as long as I can remember. My kids played there.
That's what I'm talking about.
You should have known it needed the whole park redone before it ever got to this
We had
stage.
requested money long before the splash in our budget to replace items in that park, and they were never approved.
But your recommendation put all the concession stands on the list.
Were not my recommendations. They were committee recommendations.
Well, the committee, that means the citizens and everything. So, but someone came up with a price of fixing or replacing the concession stand. But it just doesn't make sense that you don't know that ahead of time, that the whole park needs to be redone when it's been put on the list originally for the splosh. The money was placed in there. Every other old park, as you said, in Douglas County, they got a new concession stand, but when we got to ours, it just wasn't feasible. We had to redo the whole park. Don't y'all cut the grass and do work the fences and things like that out there almost once a week? You should have known what needed to be done at the park
Director Dukes, let her
way
speak.
ahead
When
of
she
time.
yields, I'll let you rebuttal.
Okay.
I don't do back and forth.
But
Let
way
her finish.
ahead of time.
Okay.
However, our money for Winston concession was taken away from us. Now, I guess it's gonna be a project for the next splosh if it passes. But I heard somebody say the other day it was budgeted. Is that right? For this year?
It was on the list. It was actually on the list.
Well, if it was
It was on the
budgeted, there shouldn't be over $500,000 being taken out of the fund balance. If it was budgeted. So you've taken a park that was never on the list, or it was added later on, but it was at the bottom of the list, put it up at the top, and taken the concession stand that really needs repair. In fact, at one time, the floor was falling in, and given it to this park that some people, as that citizen of that district, said a lot of people don't want that park. There's been a lot of controversy, I know, even back when Mulcair was here. But I'm just saying, this happened also with the lights out at Fairplay. You knew years ahead of time that the lights had to be replaced because of safety issues, but it was never replaced. That may have been because the commissioners did not allocate the money, but that it was put on the splosh, and it had to be done through splosh funds. But the western side of the county is tired of y'all taking our money and putting it elsewhere. But this was not budgeted because you had to take $500,000 out of fund balance. And it's not right. This board is guilty of collaborating to do this. But your department, if you're out at a park all the time, y'all ought to know what needs to be done way in advance, years in advance. You don't come up to the last minute and say, we need to redo this whole park. This is wrong, and I hope the citizens realize that. And I would recommend, if any kind of splosh deal is being done, it should not be done by percentages to go to this, that, and the other. It ought to be specific projects, and the location should be on that splosh deal. So, because anything done by percentages can be moved around when they have a block vote up here. And that's what's been done from the very get-go with the senior center and everything else. So with that, I yield back.
Thank you, Madam Guider from the 4th District, for your comments. Director Dukes, do you want to respond before I yield to my peers for response if they choose to? We're going to keep moving. In response, sir.
I would only say that this is general fund money. It's not splashed money. And that it's a worthwhile project. It's a good project. And I think that's why the board moved it forward. The Recreation Oversight Committee moved it forward.
Thank you, Director Dukes. My colleagues, do y'all want to speak or want to keep moving?
I would like to speak.
Madam Carson from the 3rd District, you have the floor.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I won't comment on my colleague from the 4th District, but what I will say is that Douglas County is in need of a lot of parks. and our parks system is in need of an overhaul. And we're doing that, right? We're taking the steps to do that. The Parks Oversight Committee, headed by Commissioner Mitchell, has done a great job. Parks are near and dear to his heart. He's volunteered at all of these parks. We've done what we could with what we had. I've had numerous conversations with Director Dukes in regards to what can we do to get more money into Parks and Recs, because that's the one place that every citizen in Douglas County can touch. Our citizens may not ever go to a jail. Our citizens may not ever step foot in this courthouse or go to a court proceeding. Our citizens may never, ever come to a Board of Commissioners meetings and sit in these seats. They may never see a planning and zoning meeting. They may never have to encounter any other part of government. But the one part that we probably all will encounter sometime in our lives are our parks. Whether we go there for a concert, whether we take our children there, whether we ask somebody to meet us for a walk. Our parks is something that every boy, girl, young, old, adult citizen can enjoy. And it is something that as a taxpayer, you can actually see, feel, touch, and experience. I don't like it to pit one park against another or one community against another. We're all here and we're all trying to enjoy this, right? Our tax dollars can only go so far. So to not advocate for one or push one against another is not the spirit of this board. So I'm very appreciative of the Parks and Oversight Committee. I'm very appreciative of this board. I'm appreciative of the former commissioner who pushed to get this project off the ground. There are so many more that needs it. And yes, we do need to overhaul and maintain the other parks. But to sit up here and do this is just, it's not the spirit of this county, and it's not the spirit of the public. I wouldn't say that. I know from the citizens that I've talked to in District 3 and across this county, parks are very important. So with that, I pray that this board will go ahead and approve the extra $500,000 to get this park underway so that everybody can enjoy another piece of the beauty of Douglas County. And with that, Commissioner Robinson, I yield.
Thank you very much. I'm going to speak, Commissioner Mitchell, I'll give you the last word. I just want to add in between the two. You know, and again, since I'm just sitting in a proxy, Madam Chair is still here, so I'm going to respect her seat. As a commissioner from the 2nd District, who was able to watch parks evolve. My oldest just touched down, 25, he'll be 25 on Sunday, just touched down in Vegas. Some friends, first road trip, all right? But living in Douglas County my whole adult life and his entire life, I remember being at Deer Lick and having to hold him up to the nasty bathrooms when we first came in office in '09. And I had to go to Parks and Rec, like, okay, y'all ain't maintained none. This before I knew what was what. Right, we go back to the 2000, go back to the 2002 SPOS. We overbuilt. Y'all had a habit of this. You overbuilt the aquatic center by 30%. You overbuilt the jail by 40%. So the narrative of the Jedi mind trick, and again, the negative is not necessary. I think the boards work well within the context. This very sharp narrative, it's extreme. It started in 16, and it just, I resent it because it's too much. We're more intelligent than that. We're way more intelligent. We're supposed to be advanced. You got to come at each other with that type of narrative. It's like, no, we're not. I appreciate Commissioner Mitchell. This is my point. I was teeing him up. I appreciate his leadership over Parks and Rec. We put the animal shelter in front of them people's houses. And they were livid. But okay, the commitment was if you do that, then we don't want that to be the Taj Mahal of what? Deer Lick. All right, so you had to advocate. Someone to put aluminum. Can y'all imagine an aluminum animal shelter in front of somebody's houses? You had limited resources, but we had to wait till the what? Next round to get to what we had to get to. You took $5 million out of what? The general fund for an animal shelter for 80 cats and dogs. Are you telling me that the citizens and the children of Douglas County is not worth how much? 1.5 is options. Everything doesn't have to be one way, one flavor. only my way, my eyes. That's the narrative that we're saying, no, we're inclusive. Weigh in, learn how to ask. You're not entitled to votes or support. Right? That's what this is about. Like, in other words, everybody weigh in. So I appreciate, I won't go long on this, but this was important because, again, this was an inherited project. And she had to fill out her, Commissioner Carter took her position, her citizens on board, that's fine. I agree. Funding, learn this thing. She figured out, she was taught well. Here's money, here's this, here's this, here's this. You can shuffle it this way. We don't have to be dependent on staff to figure out what we do to advocate. That's the whole point. Then you're at the mercy of staff. You're in bondage to their knowledge. Pay attention. Don't get mad. Don't be upset. Pay attention. So I'm going to leave on that. I didn't want to go long. I wasn't trying to filibuster, but Commissioner Mitchell, sir, would you like to weigh in or would you like us to move forward?
I'll be real brief.
Yes, sir. You have the floor.
Mr. Dukes, to you and your staff, my apologies for those that don't believe your true heart, your true interest in Parks and Rec. You've been doing this a very long time, and your heart is in it. Your heart is in what's best for the Douglas Countyans and this community, and it shows. With all that you do and all the energy and all the things that you've done through Parks and Recs, with what little that you take and make a lot out of, I commend you and your staff. And I'm not gonna go back and forth. I think it was well stated, as I stated before, what is being done is not right, it's not fair. However, it's District 4 Commissioner opinion, and I respect that, because we all have an opinion. You got 5 brilliant minds here. And I'm glad that you've learned how to work with, understand, because I know I'm quirky, and I admit that, but you learn to work with the vision that I have within Parks and Rec. So thank you again, and I'm not gonna go back and forth with that. I just think you guys do a great job, and you've done a great job, continue to do a great job, and I think this is just one more feather in your cap of a job well done. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Board of Commissioners. We all sufficiently weighed in on this topic. Can I get a motion to approve this matter as so read?
I make a motion to approve the authorization to award a contract to Integrated Construction and Mobility for professional services in the amount of $1,213,618.76 for the development of Punkintown Nature Preserve to be funded through the general fund as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Oversight Committee, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review.
Second.
May I get a second? I heard it. Commissioner Mitchell, thank you. A second. Board of Commissioners, any comments?
Yeah, Vice Chair, I have a comment.
Yes.
Chair.
Hey, absolutely. I'm sorry. Madam Chair, you have the floor. Absolutely.
Problem, there are 2 parks, I believe, that are already, and this certainly is on the subject, it's a perfect time to talk about things that are being done. Bill Art and Fairplay, Director Dukes, in our recent conversation, you shared with me that you have dugouts and other things that are related to those parks that's coming down the pike real soon. Is that true?
Madam Chair, I took that to the Splash Committee the other day, and we had a discussion, and we feel like that can happen.
Yes.
And that will be brought to the Recreation Oversight Committee at the next meeting.
Yes. Okay, very good. That tells me that we are, all our cylinders are firing. So with that being said, a question regarding this additional 500,000. Was this something that we earmarked, or is just for clarification for me? Is it something we earmarked, or this just came up recently? Commissioner Carthen, if you could answer for me.
Sure, Madam Chair. The money that we earmarked for Punkintown, when we sent out the bids came in over, as majority of bids are coming in these days. So what was allocated was not enough to cover it. So we had to go back and look at how we could cover this or not do the park. And again, we know it's tied to another piece of property that the county is expecting to develop. So we wanted to make sure that we held up our end of the bargain for those who gave us that park. So the staff went back and found the money along with Rosalind, and this is the recommendation that came forward.
Very good, because that tells me that we are being creative and thinking outside the box. And inflation is here. We know more than what we just did for our transportation projects. We had to increase it by $2 million because everything is just, the cost of wood, concrete, everything is up at this point. So I'm settled. I just had that question. I didn't know if something had transpired, but I do know we had earmarked some money originally anyway for that park. We've been talking about Pumpkintown Park for about the last 6 years, and I really want to see that park come to fruition so we can move on to another park very soon. So that's all I have, Vice Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I yield back.
Thank you. Board of Commissioners, cast your votes.
Lisa, affirmative.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-1.
All right, motion carries. Move on to the next item. I think, Lisa, this next item, number 7, we're going to wait until after the consent agenda to address it.
Correct.
Board of Commissioners, can I get concurrence to allow this to be moved until after the consent agenda? Because this is an amendment to something within the consent agenda. Any
I
objections?
concur.
All right, I got concurrence. All right, thank you. All right, Lisa, what's next?
Okay, next we have our consent agenda.
Consent agenda, please read.
Okay, I'll start with item number 8. Approval of the revised grant match in the amount of $17,950 for the Violence Against Women's Act grant previously awarded in the amount of $71,799 to the Douglas County Solicitor General's Office to be funded through the department's 2022 budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Number 9 is authorization to accept an adult felony drug court grant award from the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council in the amount of $407,247 with a local match of $55,534 to be funded through date funds, and to authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Number 10, authorization to accept an adult mental health court grant award from the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council in the amount of $101,887 with a local match of $13,894 to be funded through the existing budget, and to authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Number 11, authorization to accept a Veterans Court grant award from the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council in the amount of $75,550 with a local match of $10,302 to be funded through existing budget, and to authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Number 12, authorization to accept the Family Connections Grant Award in the amount of $52,000 with no match for the period of July 1, 2022 through June 30, 2022 for Douglas Corps, and amend the budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Number 13, authorization to apply for Connect Douglas FTA Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality CMAQ grant renewal, 3rd year funding in the amount of $1.6 million, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Number 14, authorization for the chairman to execute an attorney contract with Anais Lopez Brown to fill the unexpired term from July 1, 2022 through December 31st, 2022 of Nicole Marinovich for juvenile court with no impact to the budget. Number 15, approval of grant-funded part-time employee contract with Ashley Perry for juvenile program safe care coordinator for the remainder of fiscal year 22 through September 30th, 2022. Authorization for chairman to, number 16, authorization for the chairman to execute an employment contract with Cameron Lovell as an assistant public defender to fill a vacant position. Number 17, authorization for Douglas County Sheriff's Office to renew an agreement with Doran Precision Systems, Inc. for 8/1/2022 through 7/31/2023 for maintenance costs, including parts, labor, and travel costs associated with the driving simulation system in the amount of $10,176, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Number 18, authorization to renew a contract with the Douglas County Sheriff's Office and Senior Chaplain Edwin Ford for the term of July 1, 2022 through December 31, 2022, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Number 19, authorization to renew the annual plan service agreement with Johnson Controls, Inc. for the Boundary Waters Aquatic Center at a total cost of $8,347 to be funded through the Parks and Rec operating budget as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Oversight Committee, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Number 20, authorization to renew the master services agreement with Civic Plus for Civic Rec online registration service in the amount of $5,092.53 to be funded from the Parks and Rec operating budget as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Oversight Committee, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Number 21, authorization to enter into an agreement with CSG Forte to provide online payment processing services for the Parks and Recreation Department as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Oversight Committee, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Number 22, authorization to award a contract to Integrated Construction and Ability in the amount of $1,547,469.12 for Bill Arp and Fairplay Park renovations to be funded through 2016 SPLOST funds as recommended by the Parks and Rec Oversight Committee, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Number 23, authorization to purchase a commercial hot water heating unit for the Boundary Waters Aquatic Center at a total cost of $76,200 to be funded through 2016 SPLOST funds as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Oversight Committee, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Number 24, approval of a contract with Network Cabling Infrastructures, LLC for the CCTV system replacement at the Douglas County Transportation Center, also known as Park and Ride, in the amount of $237,414 to be funded with federal grant funds, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Number 25, approval of First Amendment of the intergovernmental agreement with the City of Douglasville on joint city-county funding for the Highway 5 and Douglas Boulevard Turn Lane project, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Number 26, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Douglasville, Douglas County Water and Sewer Authority regarding acquisition of property for the Dog River Reservoir expansion, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Number 27, approval of a contract with VHB for the comprehensive plan update in the amount of $149,000 to be funded from the Planning and Zoning Department budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Number 28, authorization to award on-demand project management service contracts to the firms of Arcadis, Atlas, BDR Partners, CBRE, CPS, H.J. Russell, and Skanska pursuant to the solicitation 22-010 as recommended by the Evaluation Committee, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. And that concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Board of Commissioners, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as read it to record?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as read into record.
Can I get a second? I'll second it. All right, Board of Commissioners, any comment? Obviously, there's no discussion. Any comment on any of these items before I call the question? All right.
Yes, sir.
All right, District 4, Commissioner Ann Jones-Goddard, you have the floor.
Miguel, are you here? And this is for the benefit of the public. This is regarding the Highway 5 and Douglas Boulevard intersection. We're getting an extension with our agreement with the city because they've agreed to pay $600-something thousand.
That is correct.
We're behind times.
The original agreement, in all other terms, remains. The original agreement called for the construction to be completed by July 1st of this year. And obviously, we were not able to meet that timeline. But the city has reviewed this agreement. They've approved it, understanding that we are making progress and we're getting closer, and we expect to be able to complete the project well before then, but certainly by that timeline, the end of 2023, we will have the project completed.
So by the middle of 2023, the project should be done or breaking ground?
The project could break ground by the end of this year
Okay,
and should be completed by the end of 2023.
okay. So we're going to be breaking ground just in time for Christmas. But anyway, I just wanted the public to see, because oftentimes in my newsletter, I repeat what you tell me, and the timeline was this year, and now all of a sudden it's next year. So we got to go through one more holiday season backed up to Chick-fil-A. Sorry about that on Highway 5. So I just wanted the public to know that the city is paying part of it, we're paying part of it, but, and the electrical wires is going to be the biggest delay, I think.
The relocation of utilities is going to take a number of months to complete. But the way these projects work is because they are on a state route, we have to coordinate our efforts with them. Projects that are on strictly county roads are a little easier to resolve these issues, but we have to make application for an encroachment permit with the state. And so those reviews by them take a little longer, but we're making progress.
And is the concept posted anywhere?
Conceptually, I think there is a description of it in our website. I don't think there is a graphic of the way it looks now. The length of the turn lane has evolved over time, has gotten longer. So essentially, the turn lane will start fairly close to the paint store there on Highway 5.
Really?
Yes.
Are they going to close the two entrances right there?
No, we're just going to add a lane and reconfigure the entrances.
Oh, okay.
But no, but it goes that far back because the volume of traffic that is, the stacking capacity needed for that volume of right turn.
You ought to look at it on Saturdays. Okay, if you would send me that concept, though. I asked yesterday, but I didn't see it today, so.
I'll get it to you.
Okay, all right, thank you. I yield back.
Thank you very much. I'll keep this going. I know we're still in consent. I just want to make one comment. I do appreciate looking at the parks and Rec Committee, all the work that's been coming out lately. They've been making some real decisions regarding parks. I mean, I'm with Bill Arp and Fairplay. I don't know where they are, but, you know, I couldn't see them, but I'm sure they're important. Thank you guys for not being selfish, for being unselfish in how you disperse this. Commissioner has always been consistent with a countywide view. He's handled that park and rec. I would do it different, but he gonna do it different. But I see him. And they've done righteous by the parks on what we had. He's managed that from Deer Lake. I mean, make sure the tennis courts, I mean, he's, man, I make sure they remembered their commitments, but you had to work at it. You had to talk to staff. You had to learn how to talk to staff. You're not entitled to, it goes both ways. So we do appreciate you guys who get that we were committed as well. We had to go through funding rounds. Right? We didn't trade off anything for the wrong reason, but it's not going to be a military state. It's going to be more dispersed. Right? It's a different a different look, newer generation. You're going to do it that way. And free enough to let you know this is where we're going. That's important. Now, if you want to talk to me, we can talk. I got you. But it's the language. It's the language. So anyway, I won't belabor this. I want to make one other point. Deputy, I want to bring up, I got my District 2 hat on. Deputy, I want to bring up the project management.
I'm
Can you
here.
speak to that one, sir?
Absolutely.
I know our procurement officer, she's not here, but you've got this, right?
Yes,
Thank you, sir.
yes. She had a conflict tonight, so I'll be covering that for her. And to your point, agenda item number 28, the authorization to award the on-demand management services contract, something we've been working on for quite some time now. And we finally, got all the bids in, got 12 bids from firms that were, all very qualified. The oversight committee went through based on criteria supplied to us by the procurement director, and we came up with rankings for all 12. After they were ranked and in order, we selected the top 7 out of the 12. And I'm happy to report that we have a wide range of project management specialties that we can select from for projects that the county will endeavor in, currently endeavored in, and I'm sure will endeavor in the future, anywhere from engineering, SPLOST, IT, capital projects, transportation, things of that nature. So from my perspective and from the perspective of the committee, we've accomplished what we were requested to do, and that we have a pool of on-demand, well-qualified project management firms that the county can select from.
Thank you. And I won't belabor this moment. I just want to, again, you have to advocate. I've been talking about this for a year. So it took a year. So it took 2 directors. It took what it took. And hopefully this will go past with the board today. But think about it. And we just had it in transportation. It was a skill set that we did not have inherently in the county. We needed to be on demand, dealing with that, what they call that spine road. Commissioner Mitchell, I'll brief you later. That project is too big and too many stakeholders, and for Miguel to be the project manager, he's like, look, I'm just about to take y'all roads and be done. I'm ready to cut this thing, but who's overseeing this? You have 2 developers, a development authority, and us, and we just happen to have, okay, who's running the day-to-day? I'm talking to people who are professional project managers who can hear me. Guys, and we're in this room and nobody's overseeing it, and Miguel is driving like we told him to do. He's driving like, wait a minute, guys, y'all ain't paying attention to this, how this impacts this, and nobody really cares, right? Because you got self-interest in there. Oh, they don't care. It's like, okay, but somebody's got to be the owner's rep. Somebody, who's going to manage our stuff? Who's going to protect the vision that the citizens wanted over there? So I appreciate that. So again, hopefully this will pass. I have one question regarding that. The list that you just talked about, the 7 people who are above the line, who made the cut by whatever criteria you picked, I know you read alphabetical during the actual consent agenda, but can you tell the buckets, who fell in what buckets? Do you have that list in front of you?
Sure, I do. And when you mean buckets?
Specialties.
Okay, specialties.
All right, so if there's 2 firms that are engineering, what are those 2 firms? Just for the record. People can see it for later. But
There are actually 3 firms that are engineering, and those firms are Atlas, H.J. Russell and Company, and Arcadis. There are 3 firms that fall in capital projects. That would be CPS, CBRE, and BDR Partners. And Skanska is the organization that falls in the transportation area. Now, I did say that there were some firms that specialized in IT. These were just the major, their primary focus. There were secondary focuses that certain organizations had. So we think we have a good variety of firms that can provide us what we need, Vice Chair.
thank you. That is sufficient. To my other peers, is there anything you else want to discuss or, comment on before I call the question? No?
No.
All right. All right. Fellow commissioners, cast your vote for the approval of the consent agenda.
Lisa, affirmative.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0.
Very good. All right. County Clerk, let's come back to the last item, number 7.
Yes, sir. It was
Thank you.
business item number 7, approval of a contract amendment with VHB for the Bankhead West Small Area Study to be completed in coordination with the comprehensive plan update in an amount not to exceed $75,000 to be funded by a budget amendment to the Planning and Zoning Department budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Duncan, will you be so kind to, one more time?
Good evening.
Thank you. You have the floor.
All right, this item is brought to you in conjunction with item number 27 of the consent agenda, which you have already voted on. As we have mentioned previously, we have been working for the better part of a year planning for the comprehensive plan update. That update is due to be completed in October of 2023, and so we have been working on planning and preparing for that item. That was a budgeted expense. Approximately 4 weeks ago, we were approached, I want to say we, Planning and Zoning Department, was approached with the idea of undertaking a small area study for approximately 7,000 acres along the 78 corridor, US 78 corridor, roughly between the city limits of Douglasville and the city limits of Villa Rica. Because we knew that we had already been planning for the comprehensive plan update, we suggested that there was some efficiency that could be maintained with the public engagement process. We suggested that rather than going forward with 2 separate land use studies on top of each other, knowing that we would be doing the comprehensive plan update, the recommendation was to bring forward to the Board of Commissioners a recommendation of a contract amendment to the consulting firm that was ultimately chosen for the comprehensive plan update to include the scope of services for the small area plan for what has been called the Bankhead West Small Area Study. The timeline in which we were asked to complete this is between now and the end of the year. That does line up with the timeline and our scope of services for the comprehensive plan for the land use element. The actual amount of this would be $67,000. The scope was included in the packet of the meeting, but just to clarify, this is not a budgeted amendment, a budgeted item. Therefore, a budget amendment would be required if you chose to pursue this contract amendment for this study. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Duncan. Madam Duncan, very good. All right, so Board of Commissioners, again, small area study, an amendment to something that we just passed for the overall future land use. Manager Duncan, there had been conversations about the same corridor. Now, I get 7,000 acres, and that's economic development. I'll come back to why they're not putting money up on this, but okay, I'll come back to that. I'm okay. But there was conversations about the east side of Veterans, the east side of Douglasville, which is Lithia Springs proper, which is a redevelopment area. And so then it comes down to the Board of Commissioners to determine what is its priority. Since it wasn't planned, they both are important. I know I've been involved, Madam Chair has been involved in conversations and meetings out there before the pandemic over there in Lithia Springs, which obviously we know once was a city. Now they let it go, but okay. So if you're going to do it, do it. Don't nickel and dime, right? So if you're going to go, and I get the importance of the 78, so I'm going to yield to my colleague. I get it. I know primarily it's the city, then the 2 areas that are outside the city that we're controlling. What y'all going to do with 78 anyway? Right. Here's your chance. All that is related. We did Lithia Springs. I mean, it all is going to tie some kind of way back into that strip. But what are you going to do? This is a time where you need intelligence. I could support this if we amend it to add Lithia Springs or not. It's both. You got to amend the budget anyway. But I'm going to let y'all see what y'all going to do. And I'm going to yield right now. So any other further questions regarding this from my peers? Anybody want to weigh in? No?
Yes.
Oh, now you have the floor. Absolutely.
So, Allison, you're saying that it did not include the eastern side of Veteran Memorial?
That's correct. The proposal that we have brought to you here this evening is only for the small area study for what they were calling Bankhead West. This was based on a map that was submitted to us, I believe, by the Development Authority. I can ask Director Worthington to confirm that, but it was the map that was submitted in your packet for that area between the city of Villa Rica and the city of Douglasville. if the,
Why-
at whatever point it is appropriate, I would like to just clarify, the scope of services does not include the east side. So I would want you to clarify to me if you would like us to go back with a revised scope of services before actually voting on this item, which would probably also include a revised fee. Staff has no real concern if we want to do both sides as a part of the comprehensive plan update. We're fine with that. This was only brought to us, again, approximately 4 weeks ago as the side between Villa Rica and Douglasville on the west.
Well, Chris is not here. I wish he was, so he could answer why they didn't include both sides. What the public may not realize is that the fiber runs up and alongside the railroad track. And that's where the fiber runs. And that's why, and all of it's mostly commercial anyway, with small businesses and things like that. But I think the whole corridor is commercial, is it not? There are a few houses that I know of.
When you say the whole corridor, east and west,
Mhm.
or?
Most of it is commercial.
Eastern side, perhaps a little bit more so than the western side. And again, I would just say what this study is proposing is an area that is far exceeds just the 78 corridor.
I just
in
wondered
terms of
why
its scope.
he would leave off, because both sides need a lot of work.
Sure.
done
Again,
on
that
it.
I can't speak to.
Okay. Well, I don't know whether we should table this and wait until the next meeting and address it for both sides and see what the cost is, because right now we don't, you're saying it was not a budgeted item, so where's it coming from? How much money we got in capital?
That is correct. It is not currently a budgeted item, so we would need clarification
I
on
think
it.
we have, Rosalind, you're here, I think it's around $300,000 in capital. Yes, that is correct. Okay, so that's a good place for this to come out of, I guess, because it's to lead to capital, I guess. I don't know, but I don't like it, I wouldn't like it coming out of the fund balance. We're supposed to leave it alone. So, anyway, I would recommend that we table this right now.
Okay.
But it would also include the item we just voted on, so the amendment, we should have addressed it before we voted on the consent agenda.
So just to clarify, the consent agenda for the comprehensive plan, I feel like the comprehensive plan needs to move forward. This is a layer on top of the comprehensive plan that was an add-on. The comprehensive plan.
This was added on, okay.
This is an add-on. We saw that there was an advantage to perhaps moving in this direction because we'll already be doing a substantial amount of public engagement with the comprehensive plan update. We thought to go out to bid for a separate contract, again, for land use study, may be confusing to the public if we were asking the community, what do you want to do as a part of this land use plan, and then what do you want to do as a part of that land use plan? So we thought that there was the opportunity to gain some efficiency with doing this together based on the timeline that was presented to us, which again, the timeline that was given to the Planning and Zoning Department is they wanted this completed by the end of 2022. Which is a fairly short timeline to return a small area study. So we felt like this was the most advantageous way to return this to you in the timeline that was given to us, given the scope of work that we have already entered into for the comprehensive plan update, which is, again, a required process that we have to undertake to satisfy our state requirements.
Was the item 27, was it funded, was it in your budget?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's funded.
But this is not?
This is not.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right. With that, I yield back. I thought it was
Thank you.
part of it to begin with, so.
All right, so to that point, and again, to my peers, we're all
Yes.
looking at this. I'll get it. I get it. Economic development. And I get your statement of 8,000. I mean, I get it, but it should have been more inclusive. And so this was a power move. We're gonna slip this in here. And I'm like, but what about the redevelopment? Now, I get the west, I get the trees, I get going, right, but what about those who've already vested? And do I get to get redeveloped? Right, that's the thing about society, guys. Sometimes it eats and it leaves you, it moves on. right? Nobody likes you to go back and do redevelopment. It's a problem, right? When things age, it's psychological. It's convenient to go cut down new trees. Look at my new, right? You gotta maintain, you gotta rebuild, you gotta redevelop, reconstruct. And so one more time, if you're gonna do, y'all, I've been consistent. If you're gonna do it right. Go all in. If you're gonna plan. Now, I'm just saying, I had no problem with the West. I'm in, but how did you leave the East out? And that's always been the conversation. And this was new to that point. If you're just finding out 30 days ago, but we've been talking about Licking Springs for 2 years, it's not your issue. Again, because you focused on what you were supposed to focus on. You got this other stakeholder that's pushing here. To Madam Guy's point, he's not here. Chris Pumphrey should be here for this. You should not have to carry this by yourself. So I want to give you that. You're having to carry something that, like, you got your job done. So I know this seat is hot, but it's not about you. It was just like, okay, Chris, you didn't talk to me. Chair of Economic Development. I'll come back to you later. All right, I'm going to yield for that. Madam Carthen, did you want the floor?
Sure.
Yes, you have the floor, madam.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, so in planning for this comprehensive comprehensive land use for planning and zoning, you knew this was coming up how long ago?
The comprehensive plan update? The comprehensive plan update is required to be done in 5-year increments. So our deadline to the state is October of 2023. So when we back that up, we wanted to start about this time. So we began the budgeting process for it last year in the budget process to make sure that we could have the funds available so that we could go out to bid for the plan update.
And you did come to the full Board of Commissioners and ask us to make sure that we include that in your budget. You did advocate for that.
It is in our budget, yes.
So you advocated for it. You came to us individually, because I know you and I had a conversation about it, and I told you I would be more than happy to sponsor it. I'm all on board. We definitely need to carve out our particular areas and what we want to see and hear from our constituents. I know for one, Chapel Hill needs to be re-looked at. There are some portions along Bear Creek and other places within District 3 that we really want to hone in on and not make so much commercial and retail, but this is a great opportunity to do that. So if each of us looked at our districts, then we could see ourselves in it. We can make sure that our constituents had a voice in it. So the board decided to put it in your budget. This, however, was not in the budget because it was not brought to your attention until you said 4 weeks ago.
Approximately 4 weeks ago, yes.
Approximately 4 weeks ago. Did you talk to the commissioner whose district this would affect in regards to this?
I would have to defer to Director Worthington. I believe he was in the meeting where this was first brought up, so I would defer to Director Worthington.
Director Worthington, he's on his way. Good evening, welcome to the conversation.
No, so
yes.
this plan, the small area study, came out of a meeting with the Development Authority. And Executive Director over there, Chris Pumphrey, had outlined this 7,000 plus acres that basically goes from the western city limits of Douglasville to the eastern city limits of Villa Rica. And is generally from I-20 north to about Cedar Mountain Road. That's not exact, but somewhere pretty close to that. So this is the plan he was looking to do because he's got a lot of development interest in that area. So there's a lot of parcels out there that are large, a few that could be combined into mega sites, and there's not much other land real amenable to that in the rest of the county. So he's looking intensely in that area. That area doesn't have much planning at this point as far as some of the things, transportation, water and sewer. So there'll be a lot of aspects to the plan that will be a lot more detailed than the general comp plan. So on the planning and zoning side or from the development services side, we're happy to do studies anywhere they're funded. So
right, but this one was an unfunded one. Did you
Correct.
happen to speak with the commissioner of that district?
Yes, ma'am. So it was Chairman Jones and Commissioner Guiner was in the meeting with the Development Authority. and
With the
this-
Development Authority?
Correct. This was
Okay,
the
did they
direction.
make any recommendations as to what they thought, or did they say anything? What was the conversation? Because I wasn't there,
The recommendation was to bring this plan to the board.
to the board.
So
Okay, they felt
that's-
as though this was good.
That's what
And-
we're doing.
Got you. Did they ask the Development Authority to come to the table with anything, since this was their idea? And I'm assuming the other district commissioner did not.
I can't comment on that, I don't know. I'm not
Got
certain.
you. Not to your knowledge, they didn't ask?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So this was not included in the regular planning and zoning budget because they, I guess, Chairman Jones and the District 4 Commissioner didn't know that the Economic Development Director, Chris Pumphrey, was going to ask for this, I'm assuming.
That would be my assumption.
Got you. So there needs to be some conversations had in regards to districts and those types of things, which is what we as district commissioners usually do when we're advocating for our districts. We find those opportunities to speak with them. I know I've spoken with Chris Pumphrey on economic development for District 3. And that's how we bring it to your attention and everybody else's attention, and we get our aides involved and start the process. So I was just wondering how this transpired, and then it was left out for Lithia Springs, so I'll let my colleague speak in regards to that for his district, but I just wanted to know how this all transpired. Fair enough. And so whose recommendation was it to be taken where? What was the recommendation? Who came up with that?
So
To
the
fund it.
recommendation following the meeting was to just do the small area study. There was not a direction given as to who should do the study.
Okay.
So
Or
we,
where the funds would come from?
right, so
Okay.
when we were looking at, possibilities, timelines and everything, and we realized, hey, we've got this comprehensive plan already ongoing.
It just
You
makes
don't
sense.
really want two different companies,
Mhm.
two different consultants and all, so it made sense.
I agree with you. That does make sense. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Sure.
I yield, Vice
Thank
Chair.
you. Commissioner Mitchell?
Yeah, and
You have the
I'll be,
floor.
thank you, Vice Chair. And I'll be brief. So I think we kind of hear how it all unfold. But with that, I don't know if it's for you or Allison. So if we included Lithia Springs, I know you don't know that number or anything, but we could safely say it could be something like about this amount, what we got here, correct? To kind of, as you're trying to do, as my mom said, kill two birds, one stone. So if we did add in Lithia Springs and go east, as we are trying to go west, trying to find, because there's a lot of need on the eastern side of things, and there's a lot of findings. And I know, Allison, we kind of go through this whole thing about Lithia Springs and what the needs are and all that kind of good stuff. But to do that as well on the eastern side as well as the western side, can we fairly say that the number could easily be in that ballpark, 150 to kind of kill two birds, one stone, and it'll give us kind of all what we're looking for in one bundle versus having 2 and 3 different firms and 2 and 3 different overlays. And I mean, I don't know. Am I speaking too far-fetched, or that sounds close enough? I see a lot of nods, or am I too
Well,
far
I don't
out
want
there?
to speculate on
Okay.
costs, but I mean,
Oh,
the reasoning's pretty logical at this point.
That's all I'm looking for, logic, that's all, yeah. So I don't know if, can somebody else, I see a lot of nods, and I don't know if anybody want to speak to that, and then I can kind of conclude with my thought process and where this could or may go.
Come on down.
Come on, Allison,
I'm
you
happy
can
to
help
speak
us
to
out.
that.
Yeah.
So a couple of thoughts.
Okay.
I think that the point that was made about new development versus redevelopment, I
Yes.
think you're spot on that, right?
Yes.
So one of the things that I think when we talk about the west side, you are talking about an area where we haven't contemplated a lot of the infrastructure improvements and things
That's
like
correct.
that we would need to take that on. I think that the conversation about redevelopment is a little bit different.
Okay.
We have done a small area study of the Lithia Springs, the kind of historic core of Lithia Springs,
Mhm.
right? And then we had some work through the Atlanta Regional Commission, through their Community Development Assistance Program. We worked with the Georgia Conservancy, and we came out with some placemaking recommendations. So I think, to answer your question about scope, the first thing we would want to understand is, when we say Lithia Springs, what's that area that we're talking about? I don't want to get too far out over my skis here, but if we're really talking about doing that, I would want to kind of take that historic core of Lithia Springs, but then also probably push out to include kind of
But
that
that would be
West Fork
78,
area.
though. That would be 78
I'm sorry?
going east off 78, and just using that as a thumb. Yeah.
Sure, but I think I'm also suggesting, if we were going to do this, I would want to get out into kind of that West Fork area, kind of above I-20.
Yes.
Is that, when we say Lithia
Yes.
Springs, are we going kind of that far out? I would suggest that we would probably want to go in that area, because I would say, so that'd be the kind of the first point that I would want to say in terms of scope. And
Okay.
the second thing I would say, again, when we're talking about the west side, we're talking about an area, where we have a lot of moving parts and pieces, but you're sort of talking about just kind of that baseline vision. I think that we're probably 2 or 3 steps ahead.
Already on the eastern side.
On the eastern side,
Yes.
right? So we would want
I
to
would
talk
agree.
with the consultant team and make sure that they feel like they can deliver what I would think would be the appropriate outcomes. Because just my professional feeling is that we're a little bit further ahead, and so I think that we're to a point where we probably need more recommendations on kind of ordinances, connections and things like that. So to get to your point about, kind of fee and scope and all that kind of stuff, again, as Director Worthington said, we'd be more than happy to kind of bring this back to you at the next meeting after we have a chance to talk with, kind of this group that we're working with, or maybe think about, is this the best team to take this on, and bring you back kind of an appropriate scope of services for what we think we need in that area. But that's where I think that, that's going to play very much into kind of what that cost looks like and how we would want to move forward.
And
Sorry to give you a wonky answer to that,
I
but
like
again,
wonky.
we've done a
You're
lot of
fine.
work in this area. If you can tell, I'm kind of excited about the possibility of,
Right.
kind of being able to move in that direction, but I'd want to make sure that we're kind of moving in that direction correctly and getting the right product that we need to get for the county.
And I think we all are excited about moving in both west and eastern. So I think we all are excited.
Yeah.
It's the inclusive side, I think, what I hear my colleagues and myself are saying is, how do we be inclusive with
Sure.
this whole makeup to make it make sense for the county
Right.
versus one section or one side, and not to exclude that because of that reason. But so I guess you made a valid point. We probably should go back and look at how would this work, and does it make sense to even do it with this same company based on the mere fact what the eastern side of the corridor needs versus what the western side of the corridor needs. And it may be that we do one and the other, but let me back up. Maybe we'll do both, but we'll do it this way. So can we do that? I mean, that would be my recommendation before just moving forward with this particular item as is. So I would say, let's go back and make sure that we come back with something that kind of makes sense for the whole, and then kind of move forward. But I agree, Lithia Springs is probably 2 or 3 steps ahead, just from the makeup, as opposed to the western side of town, where there's a lot more land mass. So, I mean, I get it. So, I would leave. Oh, and so what I'll do then, in that vein, is I would second Commissioner Guyder's motion and second her motion as to table this, to give you guys a little bit more time to bring it back to our next meeting with a holistic approach.
Sure.
And that way we can kind of make sure we, and if it costs more, which I expected, don't be shy on the numbers. Just be realistic so we can make sure that we're getting the best work for what we see, what's best for both the western side of town and the eastern side of town, of 78, if we're using that as a point of reference. Okay? So that will be my second, Vice Chairman Robinson. And I don't know if you want to continue that discussion, so I'll yield.
Thank you very much. So, just for the record, I'm hearing that we're going to table this into our next meeting date certain. County Clerk, can I get the date?
Yes, let me get that real quick. Thank you.
I need this.
It's July the 5th.
I need to say something.
Is there enough time for that?
All right, so this Thursday, it's Tuesday the vote meeting, but when's the work session?
The work session would be June the 30th.
So June 30th and July 5th is when this will come back before us. Madam Guy, are you making a recommendation to table this that Commissioner Mitchell has seconded, on validated for the record?
Yes.
All right, we got a motion to table and a second. Any further discussion on this item?
Yes.
Okay, please.
Allison, you and I have talked, have we not? And Chris Pumphrey and I have talked. Nothing was said about a study or funding of a study or anything. He asked me my interest as far as the corridor out 78. I think, Gil, you and I have had that conversation too, because I said I thought that was perfect area for commercial property and sewage to be run out there. So conversations have been made several times. James, I don't think you and I have ever talked about it. Were we at a meeting together? I don't recall
One
that.
meeting with the Development Authority, but it was strictly about the western side.
Yeah,
The
but-
eastern portion didn't come up at all in that meeting.
Yeah, but the funding, it just sounded like Chris was going to take the ball and run with it. So, but we talk quite often, don't we, Allison? So just to clear the record, so it was indicated that I didn't talk to other people or something. So it was a little slight in there. So I just wanted to correct the commissioner from the 3rd district. So with that, I yield back.
Thank you. And again, we appreciate, we want to be clear, we're tabling this, we got a motion and a second. We're going to come back on June 30th?
June 30th for the
And
work session.
July 5th voting meeting. Again, it's how we approach growing, how we approach leading our county. You got different interests. The West is not the East. The North is not the South. You look at stakeholders, our development authority, yeah, they want to be out west, they want to eat. It's an engine. It doesn't care about the old. It doesn't have the attention, it doesn't have the infrastructure within its own organization. It wants to hunt new stuff. I want 3,500 acres here, 7,000, okay, that's great. But what about this here? This needs to be developed. These are our communities. There needs to be a focus. So you want me to spot you, but yet I have a problem with the fact that there was no funding that came from that development authority. Wasn't even a suggestion. It wasn't even an ask. They asked y'all to carry this and slip this. This is my issue. It's how it was the approach. I'm not against it. I get it, but they got to do better than that, as well as we work together. I mean, we wouldn't be here like this. It could have been more holistic versus the sleight of hand, to your point. So that being said, I've made my point on that matter. You got a motion and second. We'll have to hand do this, guys. So those in favor of tabling this, we'll start with District 1.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
District 2 says yes. District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
Madam Chair, where do you stand?
Yes.
All right, we've got a 5-0 unanimous that we will table this into our next work session voting meeting. All right, County Clerk.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yes, sir, we have the approval of expenses.
All right. Board of Commissioners, you have had a chance to take a look at the reports that were submitted regarding expense accounts. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved. So moved.
Oh, I got it so moved. I'll second it. Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
A comment by a citizen was made about when we approve expenses that may be extensive or maybe do not qualify for expenses. I have talked with the county attorney in the past about this because several times there have been some charges on expense accounts that I did not agree with. But he says that each commissioner certifies that their expenses are correct, and they sign a form to that. And we're just approving the disbursement of the money. They got my curiosity yesterday. So I did pull an expense account because of the comment that was made. And I don't know if it's an error or not, and Rosalind, you may know. It was some taxi or Uber charges of $1,000. Was that supposed to be $100 instead of $1,000?
That's going to come up.
But this that you sent me, is that correct? That doesn't sound correct.
Madam Guy, bring it to the podium.
Is there a question for her to come address, or?
It was a charge for Uber charges for $1,000.
Are you asking her to come before a question?
I'm asking her, was that a mistake? Is it supposed to be $100 or?
Yes, come to the point, ladies.
That's per the documentation. I would have to actually pull everything to see, so I can verify the number. But that was just based off of the documentation that that's presented to the board today.
But this was on a signed document
That is correct.
commissioner is certifying.
That is correct.
Okay. But as the person brought forth, was it yesterday? Okay, yeah, yesterday.
It was the same
That everybody was guilty if there was errors on somebody's report. According to the previous county attorney, because I've asked him several times about it, and he says no, that if the document is falsified, then it falls on that commissioner. So anyway, so with that, I yield back. I just wanted to clarify what the citizen said yesterday.
All right, the floor's been yielded. All right, let me put my District 2 hat on. Let me finish my comment. Today, as I spoke yesterday, I mean, we have this constant stalking, pulling over a commissioner. I'm gonna get right at it. Really? There's no $1,000 for Uber. I can't even travel that much. That's a whole 3-4 months. It might have been administrative error. I would take that. But it's the slight. It's like, come on, do better. Do better. Do better. Right? It goes both ways. And it will not miss. Now, I hear what you're saying. I made it easy for the Board of Commissioners, as I stated yesterday, to my fellow peers. Madam Chair is fully aware. To staff, Deputy, Madam ACA, the Director of Finance, Director of Procurement, all received a communication from me where I officially suspended the use of my expense account. That little $600, $500 we get per, not gonna use it anymore. Some people don't like aids, some people don't like budgets, don't need it. Don't have to go through this. Receipts will still continue to be provided for what? Procurement. For what? Person cards, if you use it. But please, this is all politics. It's all like, now, we can pull all day long. And I got a team of people that is excellent and don't need an attorney. I'm just saying. I appreciate the comment. Thank you for, you know, if you would put as much interest, if there was much attention and effort went into the district versus looking at me. Follow me. Where you going? What you doing? You can't control me. Just don't put your hands on me. Right? This is about control. Where's he going? Who are you talking to? Like, come on, guys. I'm advocating for my district. They know exactly who I am. They know exactly where I'm at. They know exactly I go to the mat for them. I look at the points over 14 years, and it's strong. There's no question about my effort. Huh? Missed a receipt, my bad. You fix it. You cure it. And you move on. There's no something's going wrong, something doing bad. Nobody wants that. But if you got to get to that level, like, okay, that's all you found? If you opened up me for everything, that's all you found? I'm going to keep this moving. Board of Commissioners, I think we've done that. We need to go ahead. I'm going to stop. No further questions. We've got a motion and a second. We need to cast your votes. Let's move this meeting.
Lisa, affirmative.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Motion carries 5-0.
Motion carries 5-0. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Board of Commissioners. Thank you for acknowledging my comments and everyone else's. With that being said, next up is our announcement. Lisa, first, Fellow commissioners, you guys got some announcements. You want to go first?
Yes.
Commissioner Carthen from 3rd District, you have the floor.
Thank you. I just want to invite the public out to my town hall, which will be on tomorrow. It will be held at the Douglas County Library at 6810 Selman Drive. It will start at 6:30 p.m. We have invited the Sheriff's Department. We have invited Planning and Zoning to come out and answer questions. Our tax assessor will be on hand. It will be a packed hour, but it is to get the citizens' input on projects for District 3 and to just really open it up for dialogue to hear what we or I can do and bring back to the Board of Commissioners for Douglas County and District 3. So please come out tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. We will start on time at the Douglas County Library, 6810 Selman Drive. I would also like to invite the public to the groundbreaking ceremony now that we have passed the budget amendment to break ground at Punkintown, and that will be on Thursday, June 30th at 1:30 p.m. And we have partnered with Connect Douglas to have free shuttle service, which will be starting here at the courthouse at 1 o'clock. So if you need a ride and would like to help us cut down on the pollution in Douglas County, come ride the bus with us. The fellow commissioners will be on the bus. We will have some staff that will be on the bus. Come and enjoy a free ride with us to Punkintown so that you will be able to see what all the fuss is about. It is absolutely a gorgeous piece of property. I'm looking forward to the groundbreaking ceremony, and I hope to see everyone there on June 30th. And with that, Vice Chair Robinson, I yield.
Thank you. Commissioner, 1st District, sir?
No, nothing.
You good?
Yeah, nothing.
Madam Guy, 4th District, any now?
I'm going on vacation.
All right, right behind you. All right, with that being said, is there any announcements formally, Rick Martin? On behalf of the board, please bring forth, close this out.
Thank you, sir. My pleasure. Just 2 additional announcements. Connect Douglas, Douglas County's fixed route bus service is offering free rides. Exciting news for the citizens of Douglas County. This is free until September 3rd. And for more information, you can visit connectdouglas.com or call 770-949-7665. And also, free COVID-19 testing is still being offered at Derelict Park, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. For more information, you can visit douglasvillecovid.com. That yields the announcements for this evening. I yield back to you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Okay, if there's nothing else that needs to become before this Board of Commissioners on this June 22nd, 2022 meeting of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners, let this meeting stand adjourned, guys.